What comes to your mind when I say the year 2023? A year marked by war, not one, but two. A year where the word war became a part of our vocabulary. The world watched with dread as Russia continued to rain missiles on Ukraine, and Ukraine retaliated. The year is over, and sadly, there is no end in sight. The world watched with horror and disbelief as Hamas launched its brutal assault on Israelis on October 7th. The world is still watching as Gaza becomes a graveyard, and the children of Gaza make headlines. Away from the dreary drumbeat of war, there was applause for India for its brilliant, daring and ambitious lunar mission. India aimed for the moon and landed right on it.
Sir, we have achieved soft landing on the moon. India is on the moon.
Climate change and natural calamity also took center stage, as did workplace angst. Hello and welcome to WION Rewind 2023, the viral edition. I'm Priyanka Sharma and this is our roundup of our most viral videos of the year. This is what you watched on WION in 2023. Will China invade Taiwan? It's a question the world has asked often. The year 2023 saw multiple dress rehearsals as provocations. We told you the story, what happens if China invades Taiwan? Why stop at a biological warfare when you can also plan for a more traditional war? In fact, it's one that has been in the making for years now. China has grand plans, you see. I'm talking about the invasion of Taiwan. What happens when the Chinese military marches towards Taiwan? Now, one American think tank has come up with a few answers. The Center for Strategic and International Studies says that the Chinese invasion of Taiwan will fail. Now, will Washington step in to defend Taiwan? US President Joe Biden says yes, America will defend Taiwan. So what about the Chinese casualties? The think tank believes that China's invading force would be destroyed even before it manages to capture any significant part of Taiwan. But let me be clear, there's little to no guarantee that the same sequence of events will play out when and if China goes to war. Like I said, war dominated the year. When Hamas militants attacked Israel from land and air, there was one question. Why is this happening now? And for that, you need to understand the history of this conflict. We told you how it all began. At the break of dawn on the 7th of October 2023, Hamas operatives based in Gaza launched yet another war in a region that has seen more wars than any other in history. For more than 1,000 years across Christian Europe, Jews have been persecuted for their alleged role in the crucifixion of Jesus Christ into an effective political movement. The Jewish leaders identified their old habitat with their holy city of Jerusalem as the epicenter, as the new promised land. Jews were first driven out from the Kingdom of Israel around 732 BC by the Neo-Assyrian Empire. Then from the Kingdom of Judah during the Babylonian captivity in 597 BC. The Roman Empire was their next overlord. In 66 CE, the Judean population rebelled against the Roman Empire, a brave uprising that was crushed with unsentimental ferocity by the Romans, culminating in the destruction of Jerusalem in 70 CE. In 132 CE, there was the Bar Kokhba revolt. In 1917, then British Foreign Secretary Arthur Balfour wrote to Lionel Walter Rothschild, "The tragedy of Jews and Judaism reached an unbelievable apotheosis during the Second World War. In 1947, the year India got independence, the UN voted to partition Palestine. On the 14th of May 1948, Israel became a country. This was the start of endless fighting. A day after the creation of Israel, Egypt, Jordan, Syria, Lebanon and Iraq invaded Israel. The first Arab-Israeli war broke out. In 1993, Oslo I Accords were signed between Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin and Palestine Liberation Organization, or PLO, the negotiator, that is Mahmoud Abbas. Hamas orchestrated what is being called a Pearl Harbor moment in West Asia. 2023 wasn't just the year of war, bloodshed and violence. It was also the year of natural disasters. Greece, Libya, China, Hong Kong, floods wreaked havoc everywhere. And more than 1 million of you watched our coverage.
Torrential rains have pounded the densely packed city of Hong Kong, causing widespread flooding. Transforming streets into rivers and submerging dozens of vehicles, shopping malls and metro stations. On the 12th of September, as many as 3,000 people have died and 10,000 are missing in the massive floods caused by Storm Daniel that swept away parts of eastern Libya. Catastrophic rain have lashed the central Greek region of Thessaly. Hail and more than 300 millimeters of rain were dumped on the Brazilian state of Rio Grande do Sul in less than 24 hours.
Overall temperature on the Earth is rising, and with a higher temperature of the air can contain more water, and then so if there's a rain coming down, then it can be more intense.
Videos on social media show the rain, turning streets into raging rivers. A rainfall log showed 465 millimeters of rain fell in Shenzhen over a 12-hour period, the highest since records began in 1952.
The world was at war this year. Israel bombed Gaza relentlessly, and more than 1.7 million of you watched as we showed you the brutal reality of this war.
In a surprise assault that began in the early hours of the 7th of October, which Hamas has dubbed as Operation Al-Aqsa Storm, the Palestinian group attacked Israel from land, air and sea. In a span of about 20 minutes, Hamas claims to have fired over 7,500 rockets into Israel. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu appeared on national television to announce that Israel is at war with Hamas. This is the moment when the attack by Hamas began on Israel. Wave after wave of Hamas rockets pierced through the Israeli skies and wreaked havoc in different parts of Israel. This video shows the Hamas fighters pulling an Israeli soldier out of a destroyed tank near Israel's border with Gaza. And according to Hamas, they've managed to capture several other Israeli soldiers and are presently holding them captive. And this video will give you a glimpse of the tactics employed by Hamas this time round. Captured by a drone, it shows ammunition being dropped on Israeli soldiers. Soon the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu put out a statement saying that Israel is at war with Hamas.
Citizens of Israel, we are at war, not in an operation or in fighting grounds, but at war.
Soon Israeli fighter jets were spotted over the Palestinian skies, carrying out a counter-offensive on Hamas positions. What is happening in Gaza at the moment is unprecedented.
Did you know that China is drilling a 10,000-meter deep hole into the earth? Why? To find a new gas reserve. We told you all about it. Take a look at the next set of viral videos on WION.
On Thursday, China's state media, CGTN, shared these images. It said drilling of the world's deepest ever hole had started in northwest China's Xinjiang region. This expedition is aimed at unearthing rich minerals and energy resources. But China says it's doing this to evaluate the risks of environmental disasters. How long will China take to drill it? Around 457 days, give or take. The drill has a design depth of 11,000 meters. The equipment weighing around 2,000 tons. It will penetrate over 10 continental strata, or what is called layers of rock. Owing to the harsh ground environment and the complicated underground conditions, drilling such a deep hole in this region, that too into the Earth's crust, will not be a piece of cake.
Well, let me tell you what happened with a Chinese woman at a restaurant for a meal. She received a shocker when she asked for the bill. It was for $60,000. So what really happened? Let me break it all down for you. The woman, just like a lot of people, chose to put out a photo of what she was eating at a restaurant. Woman was billed $60,000 because the QR code was used by complete strangers as a result of that photo that she posted online. Thankfully, she was not made to pay the bill and she was shifted to another table. The restaurant management was helpless because they were unable to track down those who placed the orders. Remember, these codes are not to be put out online for just about anyone to use freely. That can land you in a very expensive soup.
The barbarity and mayhem unleashed by the Israel-Hamas war was difficult to watch, and yet it was all we reported and watched this year. Apart from the war, there was also the crippling cost of living crisis which dominated conversations around the world. But the British felt it particularly so. Memes, jokes, viral videos, the British cost of living crisis made many ask the question, is the United Kingdom still a great place to live? Take a look at this next set of viral videos. According to a recent report, Israel was too dependent on the cutting-edge wall that it constructed along the Gaza border. But here's the shocker. The $1 billion security barrier, which has advanced sensors and smart guns, failed to anticipate the Hamas assault. Videos have emerged online that show small, off-the-shelf drones inflicting heavy damage on Israel's multi-million-dollar hardware. Hamas managed to take down at least 4 communication towers. And how did they do it? By using drones to drop munitions, catching the Israeli defense completely off guard. They managed this feat because Israel missed the breach in their physical barrier. Now, about Israel's surveillance system, it's a robust network, including drones, cameras, cyber snooping. But shockingly, it proved fatally insufficient. It's still the group that both the US and Israel regard as a terrorist organization managed to use sheer numbers to overpower Israeli surveillance. The UK is set to be on course to be one of the saddest places to live. There is anger on the streets of London. There is frustration. There is acrimony. It's a season of strikes in England, so much so there's a strike calendar in the UK. Skyrocketing inflation has turned bedroom banter to raging arguments. They're unhappy because of the cost of happiness. It has gone up. Living standards have taken a dive. Romantic night outs are too expensive. The great British dream is crashing, and with that, so are house prices. Add higher taxes to the heap of troubles, and you'll find there's plenty of bitterness in the air. It's pushing more couples to call it quits. The unhappiness taking root in British life. Let's now bring you 5 striking videos from the last 24 hours. Video number 1. It's from the early hours of Sunday. It shows explosions rocking Gaza City as Israeli forces launch retaliatory strikes. Video number 2, this one's disturbing. It shows bodies of Israeli citizens who got killed in fighting Hamas, wrapped in plastic bags. Video number 3, this one shows a building collapsing after an Israeli airstrike in Gaza. This building was known as the Palestine Tower. Video number 4, this one will chill you to the bone. It shows a barefoot woman with arms tied behind her back getting manhandled by an unknown armed man.
Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar!
Video number 5, this one shows the moment an Israeli strike hits a building as people run for cover. On WION World is One, we told you all about China's secret super dam. It's being built right next to India's border. Take a look. So this is what China's doing. It is building a dam along India's border. A 60,000 megawatt super dam on the foothills of the Himalayas. Once completed, this dam would be the biggest in the region, also the biggest threat to India's sovereignty. This dam is being built at the strategic tri-junction of China's borders with India and Nepal, right opposite the Kala Pani region of Uttarakhand. What's worse, this dam could also be used to store or block the passage of water. This can cause water shortage, particularly in Assam and Arunachal Pradesh, if China decides to turn off the tap. How long can we let China use water as a coercive tool? I mean, aren't there any international laws to prevent this? We also have a piece of advice for China. How about letting go of these hegemonist acts and for once, focus on getting your own house in order? Your GDP growth has slowed down. Your property giants like Evergrande are incurring billions in losses, $81 billion to be precise. With so many troubles brewing at home, why would you want to pick up another fight with your neighbor yet again? More than 2 million of you watched our story about a curious crack at the bottom of the Pacific Ocean. Experts said it could trigger a magnitude 9 earthquake. And also, in our next set of viral videos, we'll tell you why employers need to be on guard because they could be staring at empty desks soon. Take a look.
Well, at some point in your life, you must have felt this particular urge to hang up your boots. But have you ever thought about what triggered that thought? Why would you want to quit your job? One of the reasons for that may be directly linked to your colleague who has just left the organization for good. You see, whenever an exceptional employee moves on from their job, there is a team left behind that feels the void. And when a great teammate leaves, many suspect more will follow them. Exits by top performers do set off more resignations from the company. But surprisingly so, the level of impact depends on how they exit. And just to understand how the exits influence those who stay back, researchers from the University of British Columbia and the University of Minnesota analyzed data of about 1 million employees. And they found that layoff announcements had a strong and immediate impact. It increased voluntary resignations among those who remained at the company.
There is a hole at the bottom of the Pacific Ocean, and this hole is leaking water upwards. Not ocean water, but warm water, at least 9 degrees warmer compared to the ocean water. How did researchers find this tiny hole in the vast floor of one of the world's biggest oceans? Well, the signs were first picked up by a ship's sonar, which found unexpected bubbles beneath the ocean's surface. But upon observation, researchers realized what was leaking wasn't methane or warm water, but tectonic lubricant. And it was coming from the Cascadia mega thrust. What's that, you ask? Well, it's the boundary between two of the Earth's tectonic plates, the Juin de Fuca tectonic plate and the North American tectonic plate. It just happens that the hole lies in the Cascada subduction zone. Scientists explain that the loss of fluid could lower the fluid pressure between the two tectonic plates, and this could cause friction and stress. and that could result in a massive earthquake.
Our coverage of the deadly floods in India was watched by millions. Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Jammu and Kashmir, Chandigarh. They were all inundated. Have a look.
This year, the 8th and 9th of July saw landslides and flash floods lashing several parts of India. India's capital, New Delhi, wasn't spared the monsoon mayhem either. On the 12th of July, Yamuna water levels breached an all-time record of 207.49 meters. India's northeast region too has been affected by severe flooding after rains battered the region. There's a lot at stake. Is it possible to reduce damage from future floods and landslides?
A video has gone viral where a Somali runner finishes last in a 100-meter race. But that's not all. What's embarrassing is that she finished it in 22 seconds. And officials are now wondering who selected the so-called runner and how was this woman even allowed to perform at this international level. The Somali crossed the finish line as if she just finished her morning walk. The Association of Somalia Universities says that they have never sent any runners to the event. Investigations have found that there was no registered Somali University Sports Association. So where did the girl even come from?
And finally, our countdown to our most watched video of the year. India aimed for the moon and settled for nothing less. And we at WION brought you every breathtaking moment of that big victory. Every second leading up to that big milestone.
So no matter where you are in the world, if you're someone who's interested in space, then it does not get any bigger than this. Now, Eric, India is aiming to be the fourth nation, just the fourth nation in the world for a soft landing on the surface of the moon.
1972 was the hallmark for the United States. Now it's India's time, and I think and I believe now it's a big feat, not only, like I said, for India, but for the whole world.
We are counting down to the last few minutes.
जी हाँ, आप अपनी स्क्रीन पे देख सकते हैं कि हम लैंडर मॉड्यूल Sir, we have achieved soft landing on the moon. India is on the moon.
ऐसी ऐतिहासिक घटनाएं राष्ट्र जीवन की चिरंजीव चेतना बन जाती है। ये पल अविस्मरणीय है।
And with that, it's a wrap on WION Rewind, the viral edition. From war to the workplace, we'll continue our coverage of global events and stories that matter to you. Thanks for all the love. I'll see you next year.